All right, we are live with Pierre Sakamoto. Welcome to the Jenner Show podcast, man. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. So, when did you start wrestling?
When did I start wrestling? Literally just before this pandemic started really kicking into like full effect. So, March 2020. Only got
Oh
a
yeah,
couple months of wrestling in, but it was a good couple months. Looking forward to getting back into it once this pandemic sort of blows over a little bit. Once everyone gets their vaccines and whatnot.
yeah. So, you've been obviously training not for too long, but so how did you do training while you were training?
Sorry, say that again.
How did you train in wrestling before the pandemic started?
How did I train before the pandemic started? Just started really like learning the basics, just like hitting the mat, just bumping, just learning how to move about the ring, sort of getting to know my surroundings, and getting in, just sort of practicing, hitting without, and making it look real.
Yeah.
So
All right.
hitting
So,
ropes and stuff like that. So
so your first match was the Battle Rumble, right?
yes.
So explain that to me. How was that feeling?
Uh, It was very exciting. Was quite nervous for my first time in there in the ring. I've been preparing sort of mentally uh, to just get into that ring. Um, Never could I have realized how how quickly you can get gassed inside of
Oh
that
yeah,
wrestling ring.
definitely.
I do cardio regularly, like 4 to 5 times a week, but being in there, was I was a pretty early entrant into the match, and I was in there up until the top five. So I think, if I remember correctly, I was in there for a good 40 minutes. And man, I was grasping for my chest. It was very exhausting, but very looking forward to getting back into that ring. It's is my true passion, and I just can't wait to get back in there for sure.
Okay. So, how did you get the name Pierre Sakamoto?
Uh, I can I can say that it wasn't actually a name that I created myself. I've even before I got into the wrestling ring, I sort of juggled around a few wrestling names in my head, tried to find one that really fit, but I didn't have any sort of real character that I really wanted or like had really set in my mind. There was always a couple of ideas, but I went to Anthony Corelli, also known as Santino Morella in the wrestling business,
Yeah.
and he asked me, what is sort of your ethnic backgrounds, and I told him that I'm Japanese and French Canadian in my family, and he was sat there stirring around for a minute, and he's like, "I got it, Pierre Sakamoto." And all the other guys were looking around, and they're like, "Yeah, that kind of works." And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, "Oh man, Pierre Sakamoto, I don't know," but I sat there and ran with it, and I actually have grown to like it a little bit more now. And it's all about getting sort of just my foot in the door, and
Oh
just
yeah,
like not worrying too much about the name, but just trying to sort of get my foot in there and sort of make an impression. So
definitely. So, your second match was that tag team match with Luch versus Canadian Beef,
yes,
or Alberta Beef.
yeah.
So, explain that match to me.
uh it was it was definitely, the whole setup for it was a lot different for the like in comparison to my first match with Battle Rumble, because you
Yeah.
didn't really have to have like a crazy like amount prepared. That's the first match where we actually had to like construct it a little bit and had to have like a general idea for it, so there was a little bit more pressure on us. But all in all, I think we delivered. I For having only a couple months of experience, I don't think I did too bad for only my second match that was actually, sort of planned out. Both Luch, Beef, and Luke Lawless, they all really helped me. Those guys all have like quite a bit more experience
Yeah.
than me in the wrestling ring, so they definitely helped give me some guidance and sort of really, led the match and sort of really uh, gave sort of direction on to what I should be doing in the ring. So it really helped out. But all in all, it was a good experience for my second match, and looking forward to hopefully better matches ahead.
Okay, yeah. So would you be more interested in working as a singles wrestler or in your tag team Asianish with Luch?
I think I don't really have any sort of real set path that I'm sort of headed on. If once Battle Arts sort of opens back up and we start getting matches going, if the singles path is where it takes me, then totally fine with that. But if more matches are ahead for Asian-ish, then I'm totally down for that. Luch is a great partner.
Okay. So explain to yourself now, or to me now, are you way better training now than you were when you started?
It's debatable. I definitely like the experience training there is like I can't really compare it to other experiences, but I've even talked with other guys, Luke Lawless there, who's trained at Lance Storm's academy there over in I guess BC, or it's BC or Calgary.
I think it's Calgary, yeah.
Calgary, right. He said that the experience here is like none other, and based off my like little experience there, I've really come to enjoy it there. I've got to say that I try to do some training while I'm here at home. I try to do my rolls. I can't really take bumps on the carpet here or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I think I've learned a lot, and I'm sort of very excited to get back there and sort of refresh my mind because, as I said, only 2 months experience. It's still sort of fresh in my mind, so I really want to nail it in there so that I'm better prepared for the matches I have ahead of me. So
Definitely. Okay, so we all know how Pierre Sakamoto came to be, but how about Asian-ish, the tag team?
Asian-ish. Geez, that was sort of just a sort of a natural thing. I can't honestly tell you how it all of a sudden happened. It was sort of directed sort of by Anthony Corelli. I had only just recently taken on the character of Pierre Sakamoto, and Cody and Junyan, who's also trains there, the only other Asian guys besides me and Luch. But I think they had other things going on the card that night, and I think Anthony just thought it kind of cool. You got Alberta beef. Why don't we combine, the other two Asian guys and create this funny little tag team? Our idea for the tag team was sort of along the lines of like, what was that tag team in NXT? It was sort of supposed to be along the lines like of Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne, where I was supposed to be like the Pete Dunne of the group, where I'm supposed to be this big old tough guy and tough Asian dude. And Luch, if you watch the video back,
I watched it.
He sort of plays the sort of like the goofier, sort of more excitable kind of dude. But it was all sort of spontaneous. It didn't really have any sort of like real careful planning. But I'm glad it happened. Luch, like I said, was a great partner, and I'm glad that my second match was with him. It was very good.
That's good, man. So, do you have any backstories of your career so far? I know it's not a very long career so far, but do you have any stories you want to share?
Most of my story and preparation for wrestling doesn't really have to do with like being in any sort of wrestling ring. A bunch of the guys who like have talked to me there, like when I was first starting out, saying like, "You sure you haven't trained anywhere else?" And I appreciated that because like it meant something to me that I was doing what I was like my training well there.
Yeah.
But most of my preparation to get into the wrestling ring was just basically like I've wanted to be I've known I've wanted to be a wrestler since I was 12 years old. And most of the preparation I did has just been like really grinding out in the gym and sort of getting my physical body to where it needs to be. And even my mental state,
Yeah.
I wasn't really ever a crazy extroverted kid when I was younger. I was sort of more introverted, like to keep to myself. And I wasn't really good with public speaking. And even now I still need work here and there, but I'm like worlds better than I was when I was younger. But in order to prep for sort of these situations where, if I was doing promos in the ring and speaking in front of a large group of people, I took drama classes and improv classes in high school just to really get myself out of my bubble and sort of used to talking to bigger crowds. So my preparation and story, just getting into the ring, has just been like literally just preparing for when I actually get into the ring, just building my body, my mental state, my ability to sort of be charismatic and talk to people is sort of all there was to that.
That's good, man. So, what are your goals? What are your goals for the future in wrestling, or just your personal goals?
Well, my current goal that I'm really looking forward to, and this is just assuming maybe when I get back to the ring, maybe I continue on as a singles competitor. Like I said, if it's as a tag team with Luch, that's totally fine. But I've got my eyes set on Sexy Stan's lightweight championship right now. I'm hoping to sort of get my opportunity to step in the ring with him and really show him, what Pierre Sakamoto is made of.
Well, hopefully you could win that championship.
I've got my mind set on it, man, and I've everything that I've set my mind to has usually come to fruition. So let's hope it's the same with that.
All right, that would be great. So, any hobbies or anything you do outside of wrestling?
Well, at the moment, it's just been a whole lot of gaming, unfortunately. Like,
definitely.
I like doing my fair share of gaming, but it's getting a little sickening just sort of sitting in my room here and just gaming all the time. My main hobby will always be just being in the gym. It's besides wrestling, fitness and health is always going to be like my major passion. I'm certified personal trainer, and I've been in a gym since I was 12 years old. So yeah, like it's definitely, other than wrestling, my 100% passion. That's my main hobby. And then other than that, just sports here and there and hanging out with friends. But unfortunately, because of COVID, there isn't a whole lot of that right now.
Yeah, definitely. That's the worst part of COVID, honestly, not seeing people. Like, I haven't seen anybody really since like last March. So
it's brutal, man. Like other than going out and like maybe having a fire with a couple buddies here and there and just sort of distancing myself and from others, there hasn't been a whole lot. But hopefully, with the way cases are going down, hopefully we get back to normal soon. It's looking promising, but let's hope.
Yeah. Well, I've seen on your story that you just recently got your vaccination. Is that your first shot or second shot?
This was just my first shot. I just got the Pfizer vaccine, and I gotta say, for anyone who's I know that there's a lot of people who have a lot of worries about the long-term effects, but just honestly, the mRNA vaccines like the Pfizer and the Moderna, I understand some people's sort of fear about like the AstraZeneca and maybe some of the other vaccines, but
Johnson & Johnson.
The Johnson & Johnson and all that. But honestly, I can honestly say that the Pfizer, it was honestly one of the easiest shots I've ever taken. The doctor who gave it to me barely felt a thing. Let's get vaccinated. Let's get through this. Let's get back to normal life, because I know I want to get back into that wrestling ring. I want to get back into the gym, and I'm sure that's the same for a lot of the people training at Battle Arts.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So you just got yours today, right? Or yesterday?
Yesterday.
Okay. So you don't have the pain yet.
What's that?
So you don't have the arm pain yet.
A little soreness, but for the most part, I have a couple buddies who have already got it, and they have a little bit of soreness raising their arms, but it's really not that bad at all. I know with the Moderna, apparently people say it's a little worse, but
that's the one I had.
Yeah, it's honestly not too bad for me. I'm just glad to have gotten that I got it. It's one step closer to being fully immunized and getting out of this mess. So.
Oh, definitely. So, what got you into wrestling as a kid?
I don't have any sort of like specific sort of memory. I I remember sort of the period where I sort of really told myself, this is what I want to be doing, and just that, this is what I'm really passionate about. I remember watching WWE back in, I know it was 2012. It was around the time when CM Punk was sort of like at his like real peak, where he was feuding with John Cena and that whole Money in the Bank thing in Chicago. And when Triple H was running Monday Night Raw around that time, I remember that being the time where I was really invested into the show, and just I've always been a big fan of acting, and just looking at the sort of larger than life sort of characters that all of the wrestlers sort of are. It was always very interesting to me. And then obviously, like I said, fitness and health has always been a very great interest of mine. And these guys, especially John Cena, who have these really crazy sculpted bodies, it just couldn't help but to draw me in. And sort of that's sort of what led me to decide that I wanted to be a professional wrestler. It's just years of watching the program and sort of, getting to really admire the characters and personas that they portray on TV. So,
yeah. Okay, so what do you say you watch more of now?
as far as like wrestling program,
Like wrestling programming.
I know a lot of the other guys at Battle Arts will probably, sort of. Are we allowed to swear?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I know the other guys at Battle Arts might shit on me for this, but I've always been sort of like the WWE guy. I know there's a couple other people there who, who also are. I think Amy. Is sort of a big WWE girl.
Yeah.
I've been watching WWE since 2012, and I've watched a little bit of TNA here and there. And I'm slowly starting to get into AEW, almost more than a little bit more than WWE now. I would say that WWE was, at least personally for me, a lot more enjoyable to watch back in 2012. I gotta say, their writing and sort of their story building has sort of fell off. I really like NXT. I like what they're doing over there, but just as far as Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, it's my interest has sort of like weaned a little bit, but I'm still watching it. It's like I still watch highlights a lot, and I try to catch the Monday Night Raw, SmackDown when I can, and I watch the pay-per-views. But yeah, I'm slowly starting to get a little bit more into AEW, and I think it might end up becoming a lot more of a regularly watched show, possibly even more than WWE. But yeah, WWE was definitely the main show I watched for years and years.
Okay. So, speaking of WWE, what are your thoughts on the recently released Braun Strowman and Aleister Black?
It's really tough, man. Like all of the talent that's been getting released as of late, maybe it's for the best for some of them. Like I'm sure it definitely was, because they weren't being utilized to their full extent. Someone who I was really excited to sort of see where they developed was EC3. I was really hoping that they really utilized him well, because I think, like, even when he was on NXT, I really felt that he was real championship material and main roster material. But it's a shame that he was only sort of used in sort of the 24/7 championship scene. You'd see him the odd time running after R-Truth on Raw or SmackDown, and I'm just like, man, you're wasting his talent. But yeah, and Braun Strowman and Aleister, especially Aleister Black, man, that guy is so talented, and they could have utilized him so much better. But I think maybe AEW picks him up, or one of the other sort of big wrestling promotion picks him up and utilizes him way better, because I think even now, with the people who are on SmackDown and Raw, and not so much NXT, but definitely more on Raw and SmackDown, there's so many guys they could be utilizing a little better. Like, I know MVP and Bobby Lashley, Cedric Alexander, and the Hurt Business.
Yeah.
I wish that they kept them together a little longer
Oh,
because
definitely.
I feel like they could have done so much more with them. Made them into like do sort of like the same kind of things for their career that the New Day did for Kofi Kingston and
Yeah.
Xavier Woods and Big E. They had moments where they get over with the fans pretty well, but of course, I don't think anyone could have expected the popularity that they garnered.
Oh, no,
after,
definitely
like
no.
getting with the New Day. So I wish that they had stayed together a little longer and sort of developed the team a little bit more. But as far as like Aleister Black and Braun Strowman, among like many of the others that they've released, it's just a shame. But hopefully, their careers still prosper from here, and I'm sure they will. They're very talented.
Oh, definitely. Okay, so my last question for you is, who is the wrestler that inspired you the most to start wrestling?
Wrestler that's probably been my favorite and sort of been the most inspirational since I first started wanting to even become a wrestler was definitely Randy Orton. He's sort of that like I've always really loved sort of his heel character that he portrayed. The heel character always generally is the more sort of interesting one. I've never sort of been a crazy big fan of like the big heel, or sorry, not heel, the face characters. Like my brother, who wanted to be a wrestler himself for a little while, he always admired the John Cenas and those big face guys. And not to say like I have full respect for John Cena and everything he's accomplished, but my mind, or sort of the people who've really inspired me in the wrestling business has always been like the heel sort of characters. Like I've always really loved The Miz, Randy Orton, and I really liked Dolph Ziggler for a good portion of time there. But yeah, I would say main inspiration for me to get into the wrestling ring, just talent wise, I sort of want to model my body sort of after, would be Randy Orton. Like definitely, I would say Randy Orton.
That's a definitely amazing pick to choose, because he's probably one of the best of all time. So.
Yeah, 100%. Like a Hall of Fame, like first ballot Hall of Famer for sure. Yeah, like there's no doubt in my mind.
All right, man. So it was great having you. It was an amazing show. And I'd just like to see, would you like to shout out any Instagrams or social media that you have?
Well, you can follow me for now at Justin_Martin_ on Instagram. However, once this pandemic sort of blows over, I'm going to be making a separate Instagram for my wrestling, just to sort of separate my, personal life content away from the wrestling. You'll see the odd maybe update on sort of like a show we're having once everything opens up on my personal Instagram. But definitely, if you want to follow up with my sort of wrestling content, just follow my personal for a little bit. And then once I make my wrestling Instagram, you can follow there, unfollow my personal account, whatever you want to do. But, just keep an eye out, and I'm sure you'll be seeing and hearing from me soon.
All right, that's great, man. So you have no other social medias you want to shout out quick?
Nothing that I use very frequently right now.
Okay.
I might sort of get back with Twitter. Like I feel like once wrestling starts to pick up again for me, maybe I'll have reason to have Twitter. I used to have it back in the day when I was younger, but didn't really use it that often. But maybe make a Twitter right now. But just honestly, if you want to just keep up to date with what I'm doing as far as like personally, or even just keep up with how my wrestling career goes, just follow my personal for now on Instagram. That'll be the best way to do it.
All right. So speaking of that, so my next podcast is with Luke Perron of from YouTube. Actually, he's an amazing YouTuber.
Yes.
And so thank you for being on my show. I really appreciate it, going out of your way to go onto my show. And so that's pretty much it. And we out, guys.